Welcome to abombtozzzax. With me, Colin Holt. And my friends Dan Snellgrove and Jamie Firth. Here they come! Hello, welcome to a late night version of abombtozzzax, my favourite Marvel character, where I, Colin Holt, my dear friends, tell you everything you need to know about the Marvel Universe by going through every single character from A all the way to Z, or A-bomb all the way to Zzzax. Joining me today, my old pal, Nicholas Crittles. How are you?
I'm very well, and like Colin said, we're recording this one a little bit later than usual, so we'll be using our late night sleepy time voices.
It's late night. It's a little funky. It's a little what was his name? Whispering Bob.
Whispering Bob Harris.
Whispering Bob Harris.
Whispering Bob Harris.
Yeah, we've been smoking a lot of fags and drinking a lot of whiskey.
And apologies if you're listening to this on your morning commute. It's not very. Very loud.
Yeah. Just. Light up a J. We're light up a J. God, the other downside of doing it late at night is my brain has died. Currently, I look like a serial killer because I'm essentially in the darkness for poor old Nick, who's lit up like a beautiful fairy. You are a beautiful fairy, Nick. Never let anyone say anything different.
I'd say the vibe is more shiny egg at the moment, but
shiny egg. Okay. Yep. With your glasses on top of your head there, you look. Yeah. You've got lovely Mad Professor feel going on there.
Yeah, it's a middle-aged thing. I'm at that point where I'm short-sighted and I have to now lift my glasses up to see things close up. I don't need them for the close-up anymore. So.
Oh, really? So you lift them up if you're trying to read or something?
Yeah. Now for reading, it's like my glasses don't help. So I think I'm at the point where I'm going to need varifocals.
You get more long-sighted and less short-sighted the older you get. I think that someone told me that.
No, you're right. The last time I went to the optician, they said, "Oh, your short-sightedness is improving." I was like, "Really?" They said, "Yeah, at your age that happens because eventually you'll become long-sighted as well." I was like, "Oh, so that means I can only see about a distance of 3 feet and no further and no closer. Is that what's going to happen?"
Do you know what? I heard words then, but I couldn't understand any of that because
I don't even know what I said, to be honest. If you understood me, please email abombtozzzax@gmail.com and tell me what I was talking about.
Yes, please do. abombtozzzax@gmail.com. Send us your thoughts on the podcast. Talking about the middle-aged thing, I remembered thinking about, Bendis's Daredevil. We were talking about Daredevil recently. Bendis's Daredevil. I feel like that came out about a year ago or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It came out like 15 years ago, didn't it?
It's nearly 20 years.
Nearly 20, because I had a shocking moment when I remembered. Do you know there's one cover? They're amazing covers by Alex Maleev. If you are new to comics and that's why you're listening, please do read Bendis's Daredevil run. It's great.
Yeah.
We talk about it on the Daredevil run, I think, on the Daredevil episode, the now legendary Daredevil episode. But it's a bit of Stan Lee there. But there's one where he's like pulling his mask off. Have you seen that? And it's really cool image. It looks kind of a bit like a sort of Germanic folktale or something. Or like he's put his fingers through the eyes on the mask and he's pulling it down, really making him look even more demonic. And he's sort of screaming in pain. It's a quite shocking, striking image. And I remember temping at the M Power Zone, which was a job centre. It was a place to get people back to work called the M-Power Zone, which were lovely people who worked there. But I remember this one old guy, I can't remember his name, old guy, he was probably like not much older than me now. At the time I was like 22 or something. And he came up and looked at the video of that. the image of that's it. Sorry, because I put it as my wallpaper. I was only temping, but I had a computer, so I was like a dick, was putting up all images of a dick or a very cool dude was putting up comic images for my screenshots, and he's just stood staring at it. It was just this guy in a suit who worked there. Do you know what I mean? Like a kind of real, had a sort of like Jack Lemmon and Glengarry Glen Ross feel to him. And I just remember him staring at the image for ages. He just stood behind me staring. And I was like, "Oh, it's good, isn't it?" or something. And he genuinely went, "Reminds me of my father." And then he said something like, "He could be a very cruel man." It was so weird. It was literally like one of those sort of League of Gentlemen moments, or very much like the shows I used to do. When I was like in my mid-20s or 30, I think I did my first solo show called Carnival of Monsters. I mean, I had people in it, but when I say solo show, as in I was no longer a double act. But it was, but a lot of the characters were kind of middle-aged men who were saying, sort of quite shocking, depressing, but sort of non sequiturs,
Yeah.
And then I was thinking about all this on the way walking up earlier, and then I realized I am now one of those men. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think most of my characters are middle-aged men going through some sort of breakdown. I'm not sure where I'm getting the material from for that.
But back then, I guess it felt like, oh, they're so funny, the way they, God, some of the stuff that, and now I think, oh God, I am him. I am, questioning how long I'll be here. Will I, do you know what I mean? How many summers do I have and all this sort of stuff, thinking of the past and how I've got to this point. And oh God. Anyway, that's a fun.
Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to abombtozzzax. Are you a middle-aged man struggling to get up hills, thinking about your father when you look at Daredevil? Do you think of any characters when you look at do you think of any people from real life when you look at these characters? Wilson Fisk reminds me of a few people I grew up with in Nottingham.
That's worrying.
Yeah, well, just characters you'd see around. He reminds me a bit of this skinhead who used to come up to me in Market Square and just go, "Give me a pound." Go, "All right."
That's how Fisk got started.
That guy's now built a criminal empire. Yeah, I can't. Who else kind of makes me think of? Shame we're not doing the Punisher this week. We were meant to be doing the Punisher this week, but we couldn't make it happen. But Punisher will be next week. Oh, and also a big point to make to you loyal listeners. We're going to be coming out every Monday as of next week. Every Monday. I'm not sure what day that will be, but it's going to be the Monday after the Friday it should have been. That makes sense. Anyway, this week, Nick, we, on our regular journey through from A to Z of the Marvel Universe, we're still in A. We always will be. This week, it's Arcade. Arcade is the character. So I said to Nick, why don't we do Marvel's Deadliest Gamers?
Yep.
Not Deadliest Gamers as in sort of kids who sit in a playing Call of Duty type. Do you know?
Yeah, it's not Marvel's Greatest Incels.
I've got a friend who teaches branding for esports.
I thought you can say branding for incels for a minute.
Branding for incels.
Do they have that? They need it, probably.
Welcome to Branding for Incels. Are you an incel? Do you have branding? Contact us at abombtozzzax@gmail.com or on the Instagram. Follow our Instagram. What's it called?
You can follow us at abombtozzzax with 3 Zs.
There we go. There we go. And also, if you love our work, please tell your friends. Please rate and review and like and subscribe. I barely know what those things mean, but also sign up to our Patreon, patreon.com/abombtozzzax, where Nick has been carefully curating some beautiful extra episodes. Oh, excuse me. Extra episodes, haven't you, Nick?
Yep. We've got some bonus mini eps, and they will go up in between regular episodes. I won't say which day because we're changing those. Yeah.
Roughly once a week, but we're not going to be too beholden to that. Okay, so Arcade. Who is he? We're going to meet 4 of these deadly gamers. My take, 2 of them I like much more than I thought I did. One of them I was quite disappointed by, and the 4th was Joystick. With Joystick What a character. I was trying to think if Joystick could ever work. And we'll get to Joystick in a minute. And I thought, maybe a manga. Do you know if there was a manga called Joystick? And it was kind of cute and funny? That would maybe... I was just thinking, like, could the name Joystick... Because it's like calling a character iPad or something, isn't it?
Yes, it's very much
or
that.
Mouse, as in the mouse on your computer.
I think Joystick might be one of the most 90s characters ever, but we'll come
USB
to that
port.
Yeah.
What else Keypad. Is there one called Keypad? There might be one called Keypad.
I feel like there is. That feels like
there's one called Typeface, which we'll get to. Anyway, let's start with the number one, the numero uno, Arcade. Did you write some stuff for him? Because I think we both did, didn't we?
I've got some stats if you want them.
Let's hear them.
So Arcade, created by Chris Claremont and John Byrne. The classic minds behind a lot of the X-Men run that we've delved into from time to time. First appearance, Marvel Team Up 65 back in October 77.
Which is a Captain Britain and Spider-Man team up, I believe.
It is indeed.
Captain Britain also a Chris Claremont creation.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. He's got 5'6" in height and 63 kilograms. Pretty tiddly.
He's only a little fella, but he's deadly.
Yeah.
He'll have you.
His real name unrevealed. We've never found out.
We still don't know his real name.
Yeah.
And who's that like?
Much like the Joker.
Much like the Joker. And if you're wondering who Arcade is, he's basically the Joker. Would you say? Well, he's not exactly the Joker. He doesn't have white skin and green hair. He has bright orange, red hair.
Yeah, I think he looks more like the Mad Hatter from Batman.
He does look like the Mad Hatter, or the character from Mad Magazine, which I never really understood what that was.
Alfred.
He's got a very big bow. Yes, he's got a lovely big bow tie and a beautiful white suit. I've got something for you. Definition of Arcade: a covered passage with shops on either side. That's not who he is. But also, I realised I'm trying to do more research, and I just googled what is the definition of Arcade. He's called Arcade, but he's created pre-video games, I think, or very, very early video games, right?
Yeah.
So his idea of
probably just as they were starting.
But did you have like the big amusement, as in the going down the arcades playing Wonder Boy, which was my favorite one?
I guess you had
Jackson's Moonwalker.
I guess you had arcades in that sense, where you would have probably things like pinball and the shove penny machines and those kind of things. They would
have had pinballs, because obviously he's got pinballs. But I don't think you had.
He bloody loves a pinball.
Oh, he's obsessed with them. He apparently, even though they don't know his name, they do know that he killed his dad in LA. Yeah. He grew up in LA and killed his rich dad. But this could be a made-up story, much like the Joker.
Yeah, I was going to say
made up within the universe.
Yeah, sounds very similar. He's had some aliases. Mr. A. Edward Accra.
Don't get that.
I think it's like an arcade anagram. A. Ed Accra.
That's no Joker.
No.
Or Enigma.
King of Pwn. Definitely an incel.
King of what?
King of Pwn, as in PWN.
What's that?
Like when you pwn someone. It's like a gaming.
Oh, is it? Oh, God.
Yeah.
45, mate.
Yeah, exactly. And Arcade. I mean, come on. That's not even trying.
When has he used these? Just he goes to Starbucks or something? I
didn't get the references, but yeah, at various points. It'd be that one where it's like, who is this mystery Arcade? Well, it's Arcade, isn't
it? Well, Arcade is the finest assassin in the world, in the Marvel world. He's it costs multi-million dollars to hire him, apparently. But he's not really in it for the money, is he? He's in it for the sheer joy of creating these massive murder worlds. So that's what he does. He makes a big, basically like Westworld, or like a big old theme park, you know?
Yeah, and it's always called Murderworld.
It's always called Murderworld, but it's not always the same Murderworld, is it?
No.
Where is it? Is it underground?
They vary. I mean, they seem to be huge, and I don't know. Like in the first one, I'm pretty sure it's in New York. I'm like, where is he getting the real estate to have this huge underground murder world?
Yeah.
Anywhere in New York's got that.
He's come from money. It's just like in comedy and music and everything. You come from, it's all just people. It's same in murder. It's just people who come from money nowadays. You can't be working class and murder anymore. It's terrible. Well, you can, but you can't do it cool in a stylish murder world.
Murdering's been gentrified these days.
Exactly. It's been gentrified. That's the good word that I should have thought of, but it's late. I like that he's having fun a lot while he's doing it. God bless him. And I like that he has a crew. He has like a little guy who keeps popping up. Does he have a name? I'm not sure. Maybe he does. He's got a big tash and a flat cap and a sort of cap, not a flat cap, a baseball cap. And he's sort of like his handyman.
Yeah. I don't know if he does have a name. I mean, he probably has.
When I take my kids to the parties they go to nowadays, they're a bit like Murderworld. Similarly, there are these places like honest, what are they called, like, retail estates.
Yeah.
Like out in the middle of the ones that have like burger vans and stuff, but they have all these sort of places where you go in. It's just like 2 hours of sheer hell jumping around an inflatable world.
There's like a ball pit, a bowling alley, and a laser tag all in the one place.
Yeah. Yeah, but you can't get into a pinball, unfortunately. I mean, you can Zorb, can't you, at some of these places? But so when Arcade first appears, he mainly fights Spidey for a while and then the X-Men, but it's basically just characters Chris Claremont writes, because Chris Claremont clearly loves him and has created him. I used to hate Arcade. Arcade and another character we're going to talk about in a sec. Arcade, I always found kind of, oh no, it's an Arcade issue. Do you know what I mean? Like a filler. But reading these, bloody loved them. So much fun. A thing I noticed, which I find very funny, and it's a lovely little touch. There's a truck that captures people, driven by the man with the hat, and in comics you can see the sound effect. Dan would like this because and Jamie, they get really. As a regular comics reader, I don't really notice the sound effects, but I think when you start reading comics, you're not really into it. You're like, why is it say pow, zap, zoom, and all that stuff, which is obviously the sort of cliche of comics almost from the Batman 60s series. But anyway, blah blah blah. There's a particular sound effect, which is the sound of the truck grabbing people, and Spider-Man hears it and then goes, I know that sound effect.
The effect.
Does he say I know that sound effect, or does he know?
No, the effect is saflang, and he says out loud, saflang, I know that noise.
Brilliant. That was so much fun. That's just a lovely little meta touch there. Anyway, the one I particularly liked was the one where he takes on the X-Men. I've got to be honest with you, Nick, I don't think I ever read the one with Captain Britain. I have read it in the past.
He's only really right at the end of it as well in that one. He turns up right at the end and captures them in the truck with the noise saflang. So it genuinely is the same noise again.
Does it have the his assistant Miss Locke?
I don't think
she's there right from the beginning.
I don't think she's in that one.
She's his regular, very similar to when we get to Mojo. Very similar. He's got a sort of right hand person who is very much. If Arcade was Captain Mannering, she would be his Colonel Wilson.
Yeah.
There's a little Private Wilson, Sergeant Wilson.
Sergeant Wilson. Yeah.
She's very droll.
I had to think what his rank was then for a minute.
Arcade's always getting a bit ADHD and crazy and trying to kill people in a bit of Murderworld, and she's kind of talking him down or just commenting. Or Alfred to Batman, got that feel.
Yeah.
Or Wilson to Mannering. Wilson to Mannering is the perfect. What am I even saying?
He does love using a giant pinball machine to put people in, though. He does that several times.
He does that a few times. He does it in this one, doesn't he? But what I do like, which Chris Claremont does really well, is just like you're seeing them caught by one. It's almost like Final Destination or something. You know they're all going to get caught, and it's all in different ways. They get zapped or knocked unconscious or gassed or whatever, or shaflanged. It's very satisfying. A lot of the reason why I said about the video games is because I think it's old school, isn't it? It's kind of end of the pier stuff. It's pre-video game stuff. It's all like pinball machines, mirrors, killer dodgems.
Yeah, it's more like it's more funfair than video game. Yeah.
And he captures all the X-Men in the one I'm thinking of because he's been paid to, or is he just doing it for fun?
No, I think he's been paid to because, like you said, they make a point of him being this sort of deadly assassin. I mean, he's been paid to, but he likes doing it. I think.
Is it the Hellfire Club that have paid him?
It might be. I don't know if he says. I can't remember.
You know what I'd like if I've yet to star in a Marvel movie, believe it or not.
Yet.
I think I'd like arcade. I think that would be good. I think I'd enjoy playing arcade. I'm too tall, clearly.
I was going to say you're too tall for arcade.
Yeah, damn it. I'd have to be joystick, male joystick, male joystick. Yes, he captures all the X-Men and puts them in various weird death traps. The one thing is, I'd say they always basically get out of it by blasting.
Yeah.
There's not. It's always like there's one way out of this that he needs to work out. Is it the one where Cyclops has 3 doors and all of them?
Yeah.
Is that like Labyrinth where one of them is the safe one, but then he says, "Oh, they all just lead to certain death," or they're all brick walls behind the door, and it's that thing where like the walls are closing in on him, sort of Indiana Jones style, which is a very cool and scary idea, isn't it? I remember as a kid being scared about that idea.
But then he gets out the only way Cyclops gets out of anything, which is blasting it with his red eye blast.
He just blasts the floor. That's unsatisfying, I'm afraid. Oh, hello, got a message. It's just a builder. Don't worry about it. I wonder whether the clients perceive this a bit like the guys at the end of Squid Game. You know those ones at the end of Squid Game where they all...
Oh, I never watched Squid Game.
Oh, well, at the end, it turns out these rich people are all kind of watching it play. Maybe they missed a trick there by not having that.
Yeah.
Anyway, the classic moment of this story is he captures Colossus, who is... this is in 1980... maybe 1980, and Colossus is a great big Russian man, a kindly, I should point out, kindly, gentle, artistic Russian who has left the Soviet Union as it was then to join the X-Men, and he brings out a character called Colonel Vashin. So they're all put in their own murder rooms or sort of torture rooms where they're nearly killed and blah blah blah, and he's put in a room which is a kind of like a KGB interrogation room.
Yeah.
And Colonel Vashin appears, who is a real character later.
Yeah, I was going to say I recognize that name. I'm sure I've seen him.
For some reason he's got a pair of glasses with one glass is blacked out.
Yeah.
So I think he's meant to be like the Russian Nick Fury. Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I was just like, why is he there? Is he? I don't know. Is he created here? I'd love to know. And meant to.
Yeah.
And then they go, oh, actually, he's real. You know, a bit like Eric the Red, where he's a made-up character, and then they go, no, there really isn't Eric the Red, which is the weirdest thing. I can't wait to do Eric the Red.
I've never got my head around Eric the Red. It seems to change every time exactly who and what he's supposed to be.
Yeah, it's a very bizarre idea. And also, Eric the Red is like, it's not that good an idea. Just don't do it. Just don't bring him back. It's bizarre. Why you went to Eric the Red? Anyway, bless Eric the Red. Anyway, I don't know. But the point is that they sort of escape most of their rooms, don't they? And suddenly the wall comes crashing down, and Colossus comes through wearing a flat cap and a sort of dungarees.
Yeah, red dungarees.
Describes himself as the proletariat.
Yeah, red dungarees with like the kind of Soviet Union lettering, a sickle, and what appears to be Lenin's face on the dungarees. Just to make really sure that we're, making the point that, he's gone back to the Soviet Union now. Chris
Claremont is a good and clever writer, an emotional writer. He's good at hitting emotional, empathetic beats. Is he taking the piss here?
Yeah, I think so.
He is, isn't he? We're not meant to take this that seriously.
No, because he calls himself the proletarian workers' hero of the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
He's clearly taking the mickey.
He must be, mustn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, it feels very serious. But, yeah. I like
Arcade's laughing at it.
Yeah, okay. They're all... I do like the Arcade's laughing all the way through. Yeah. So that's what happens there. And so then later on, there is a little thing I just wanted to mention, which we in the Gambit episode we talked about, the what's it called, the one where they get framed for being the new Jack the Ripper. Do you remember that one?
Oh yes,
Wolverine and Gambit.
Yes.
They get and Wolverine gets framed as Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
It turns out it's Arcade, and in that one he kills Miss Locke. which is quite a shocking moment, I think, and then tries to bring her back as a robot or something. But there's quite a good moment for the character, which I liked, of that he just loses it and kills her. And he's just completely, I mean, that's not a nice thing to say. I'm not suggesting that's, yeah, it's great, it's brilliant. But I mean, like, just his then complete wave of guilt and shame and what have I done? Just, yeah, he is someone who can lose it completely.
Because actually,
craps and cleverness, he is just a little fucker.
Yeah, and the point with him has been that he doesn't normally feel remorse. He enjoys killing.
But he did love her.
Yeah.
In his own way. As Captain Mannering, of course, in the final episode, declares his love for Sergeant Wilson. But of course, it was a different time then, and their love could never be. I don't know. Did you see that episode of that?
For any of our non-UK listeners, Captain Mannering was one of our greatest prime ministers.
Yes, he ruled. He ruled. He looked up. He was kind of Churchill's follow-up.
Yeah,
I think. So, we're moving swiftly on because we've done a lot of time already on Arcade. We're going to do most on Arcade, but finally, let's talk about a recent appearance called Avengers Arena, controversial appearance, where Arcade basically captures a load of teenage Avengers, some of whom were quite beloved at the time by by their fan base, much like the new X-Men who we talked about last week. Some of whom I think were made up for it, quite fun ones like Kid Britain, who's literally a kid version of Captain Britain. He captures them all and puts them essentially in the Hunger Games, or a version of the Hunger Games. But in this world, he is somehow, I think it's on an island, and he's made it so they can't get off. And he has loads of powers that he's been given somehow. So he can just do anything. And a character called Metal, who's a kind of metal skeleton man, red skeleton man. He's basically the Rock Slide of Avengers Academy or the Initiative or whatever it was. I think it's Avengers Academy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And he just blows into pieces. Arcade just destroys him in front of them all and then sends them off into the island and says, you have to kill each other for my fun. And the reason this happens is that Arcade, on his 29th birthday, so when he's in those first episodes, he must be like 19 or something when he's in the episode we're just talking about. On his 29th birthday, apparently, he is drinking in a bar for supervillains and they all take the mickey out of him. And he realizes he's become a joke. And that's why he creates a Hunger Games for Avengers, just to show he's no joke.
Yeah, it's very deliberately like a homage to the Japanese Battle Royale films as well. Because even the Avengers Arena logo they've got is like the Battle Royale one.
I really enjoyed it. I'd recommend reading it. It's a lot of fun. But I've written here, it's a good concept, but the old Arcade would eat this dweeb. As in the character, when you read that X-Men one we just talked about, I think that Arcade is devilish and quite fun and quite evil. And this Arcade he feels like an incel, you know.
Yeah.
So it's a word that's banded about a lot, but he feels like a sort of more like what they do with the Riddler sometimes.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Not the Joker.
Like it. I don't like it when they try and make the Riddler sort of it's almost emo-ish they do sometimes with the Riddler, where they have him like with a question mark scar on his chest and his pecs out, and I'm like, that's not really the Riddler. He's a silly man who does little riddles. Don't try him sort of gritty and grungy. I
think it's a good read and it's good fun and it's quite 2000 AD. We always like things that go 2000 AD, don't we? In that lots of people get killed.
Oh, speaking of 2000 AD, before we move on, the Arcade putting people in big pinballs made me think of a Judge Dredd story called Boing, where they used to have this plastic spray that you would encase yourself in, and then you could go to these big pinball arcades and just boing yourself around. Kind of like Zorbing before Zorbing was a thing.
Yeah. So if you don't know Judge Dredd, it's set in Mega City 1, which is kind of where we're heading as a society, I think, isn't it? Where everyone just lives for leisure, but not in a fun way, in a kind of like there's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
So they're constantly creating new crazes, and one is boing. You just spray it around yourself and it creates an instant bubble, doesn't it?
Yeah, that you can just bounce off everything in.
And I also like, do you remember they use it to capture the dark judges?
Yes, they do. Yeah, they.
That's the only thing they can, because they're spirits and you can keep spirits in Boeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that. All right, so that's Dear Arcade. Moving on, a character I always found very annoying, and I think this was more because of the cartoon. Mojo. I've got some stuff here. Did you write stuff as well, or shall I jump in?
No, I've only got stats, so you
Right.
go.
Well, he was created by Ann Nocenti and Art Adams in a series called Longshot. Longshot's a character who ends up in the X-Men and started as a completely from nowhere 6-part series. It's got a couple of guest issues. When I say from nowhere, as in he hasn't come out of anything else. It was just an Ann Nocenti idea. Should be more of those things, and it's rare that they last, actually. But he is one who has pretty much lasted, probably partly because Chris Claremont put him in X-Men. But Mojo is kind of Longshot's arch nemesis. He's 6'9" and 232 kilograms. He's a big boy. He is the ruler of Mojo World, named after himself, I believe. I don't think it was the world first, and then he took the name. So Mojo World is dominated by the spineless ones, and the spineless ones are yellow, putrid sacks of flesh on mechanical leg wires. On mechanical legs, sorry, with wires coming out of their heads. Sort of, they look a bit like dreadlocks. In fact, in the Ultimate version, they did it as he's just a man with dreadlocks, which was weird. He was like a big albino. Is that the right word? Is that the right name? Yeah, he was a big albino with dreadlocks. That doesn't sound very good, does it?
No, I don't think I like that.
No, but he's not that in this. He's a yellow putrid sack of flesh, as I say. So the spineless ones rule this alien planet. They're driven mad because they get TV signals, presumably from Earth, which they see as demon images, right? And they have a character called Arise, who I don't know. He's a biped. He's got 2 legs. He's looks like a human. So I'm not sure where he's come from. But for some reason, he makes the spineless ones a race of slaves who are also humans, based on the nightmare images, which have come from Earth. But within it, he puts in a secret time bomb, a genetic messiah to destroy the spineless ones, which is Longshot, or maybe Shatterstar, who is Longshot's son or grandson. Anyway, we'll talk about that when we get to that. The point is, Mojo is the baddie. The whole world is based on TV shows. So they've created, it's very Star Trek-y. They've created this society based on the images they've got from TV. Mojo is the ruler and acts as a kind of malevolent head of the network, constantly chasing the other ratings from, I think, the other spineless ones, by making shows starring the slaves he's created. He can shoot lasers out of his hands and spikes from his big scorpion tail. And the cartoon had the same actor as the actor who plays the leader in the Hulk cartoon. I don't know if you ever saw that one.
No, I didn't see the Hulk one.
There you go. It's a very recognizable voice. It's almost, you know, the guy who did Garfield and Peter Venkman.
Yes.
It's
Lorenzo
not him,
Music.
but it's a similar. What was his name?
Lorenzo Music is his name.
Lorenzo. Oh, what a name. Lorenzo Music. So yeah, he first appeared in Longshot. We read Longshot number 4. I thought it's very interesting. I've never read this and still haven't read the others.
No, I'd not read this one before, I don't think. I thought I had, and I started reading it, and I was like, oh, I've never read this before at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite weird, because Mojo very briefly turns up in, I think he briefly turns up in number 3, but it's hard to tell. I think it's him. But he's
number 3, they look scarier, actually, because they're like wacky. Mojo's kind of wacky. He's got big eyes, and also his eyes are pulled back, like in Clockwork Orange, with like wires holding them and stuff. And he's got this big grin, this kind of with wires all over his face. Sorry, just giving a little visual image for everyone.
Yeah, but he felt very different in the issue before. Weirdly, it felt like he wasn't written in the same way, and then suddenly he was this sort of over the top, pop culture spouting TV exec.
Yeah,
it felt like they decided to make him funny the next issue.
Yeah, he's more sinister in the previous issue, I thought.
Yeah.
More looks like something out of that film you mentioned the other day, Society. He looks like a creepy David Cronenberg kind of idea. But then in the next ones, he becomes a bit more... He still looks disgusting and weird.
Yes,
but
he's
he's a bit
still
more
quite
cartoony.
threatening just because of his, like you said, the weird kind of wires and the size of him. It makes him quite threatening still.
I like the idea of Longshot as a series. I wonder if you should call it Longshot, as in it's a long shot. This will go anywhere, because I'm a big fan of Anna Chenti from her Daredevil run. Probably saying that.
Yeah,
I think I've said
she
it
like
different ways so far, but I like that
she
it's like,
likes stuff with kind of devils and demons in. I think she likes to kind of do a lot of supernatural, devilly, demony type stuff.
yeah, and a lot of social commentary, but I like it.
Mm.
I think because she's one of the few women writers at the time, it's different and
Mm.
comes at stuff from a different angle to what, say, Alan Moore would.
Yeah,
You know, Alan Moore's obviously the greatest of all time, but like, I feel like it's a good companion to those kind of things. I like that she's created this miniseries, and she hasn't just created like Darkhawk, who's just like another superhero.
yeah. No, she's done.
Longshot doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense. He's from a
No.
world of TV ratings. He doesn't know who he is either. So he's got this kind of messiah-y man who fell to earth thing. His powers are luck and throwing little knives. And each episode is a bit like that Swamp Thing series where he goes around America. So each one is Longshot meeting some person who is going through some sort of crisis and questioning what's the point of this. So I think in number 4, was it all the violent stuff where he's kind of, there's kids and their mums are trying to sort of teach them how to not be violent.
Yes, I think it is. Was I thinking of 3? I think 3 might be the one with the man trying to kill himself.
Yeah, that was mad. We should do an extra one on that one.
Yeah.
Yes,
really 4's the one with the 4's the one with the kids making a commentary on them playing with violent toys.
Yeah, they've got guns and stuff, haven't they? And
yeah,
but there's a whole like couple of scenes where it's just their mum and dad having a kind of modern parents discussion.
Yeah,
Whether it's okay for them to have guns or not.
One of them very much pro gun.
The man?
Yeah, he's like, you know, the man saying things like, these days one must appear heavily armed. It's not violence, it's just good posture.
I mean, nowadays I think that's not the worst advice.
But
Do you appear heavily armed?
And I just appear heavy. That's all I've gone for. I went half
with arms.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, very good. Yeah. So that's what's going on with there, and I love I think it's great that Mojo's a great metaphor. I think it's like all these lives, so they just generate these slaves like clones, and then make them fight for their amusement to create TV shows that creates ratings, but it doesn't even seem like the ratings. It's not like he's making money, is it? He's just keeping the other spineless ones happy. It's kind of deliberately vague and kind of metaphorical and a parable. Is it a parable?
I get the impression that the TV keeps the population down and stops them revolting against him.
But is that the other spineless ones? Do you mean?
I unclear.
It is unclear.
I'd never quite worked that out, but I sort of got the impression that by him pumping out stuff through the TV to keep them sort of docile and glued to the TV, it stops them from, thinking for themselves and rising up against him and overthrowing him. So he sort of stays in power by ensuring he's got high ratings and making sure everyone watches the stuff he pumps out. I think I got the impression that's the sort of.
I found him very funny in this. Do you remember that bit where he kind of, so he's got a companion like Arcade, a sort of Wilson to his Mannering, who's a very camp android called Major Domo. He's really campy. He keeps Major Domo. Yeah, he keeps calling Mojo my little darling.
Yeah,
I find really funny and quite risque for the time.
I don't think he's as camp later on. I feel like
he's more like Alfred-y.
Yeah, I prefer this.
But in this one,
version.
He's very like darling. Mojo. Yeah, I feel like he creates underlings because he's in charge of everything, and he's created Major Domo. But it's that interesting thing where it's like he's created them to keep him in his place, as in they tell him off and tell him where he's wrong and stuff. But it's like they wouldn't even exist without him. So it's a really interesting relationship, and it's created someone to put him down or to tell him off.
Yeah, he's given them free will because Major Domo thinks at one point he's such a psycho infant.
Major, wow,
Major Domo
he thinks that.
Yeah.
I feel like Mojo's also always forgetting who he is and what's going on. He's like, what did I do? What did I tell those people? Who did I say? Do you know what I mean? Why am I doing this? There's a bit where it reminds me of Zero in The Producers. Is Zero the actor? His name's Zero, isn't it?
Zero Mostel.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I
Can't remember the character.
Max Bialystock.
Yes, he's got that vibe, don't you think? He's kind of like, what am I doing now? Who was I talking to? And all this stuff. And there's a bit where he basically has these other characters to remind him of stuff he's forgot. For an example, he creates masks of himself that he makes everyone wear. He does this whole, like, everyone's got to wear these Mojo masks. And then his thugs sort of turn up who have been chasing Longshot, and they're all wearing the masks because he's told them to, and he thinks they're mocking him. Why are you wearing those faces? You're making fun of me. And then he like burns them off their faces. It's really fun. He's a mix. I put a mix of Joker, Harvey Weinstein, Howard Hughes, and the Kingpin. That
about covers it.
And Zero from Zero Monster.
Yeah, now you've said that, I can see that. Yeah.
Oh, and there's another bit.
I stop playing it.
He goes in. Yeah, he would have been good, wouldn't he? He goes into a room with images of himself because he can't stand to be around other people. He just wants to look at images of himself and says, "Don't let me out, even if I scream." Then basically immediately gets let out, and Major Domo says something like, "Even shorter than usual."
Yeah.
So he just goes in and goes, "Don't let me out, no matter how much I scream," and then just like he's like, "Let me out, let me out." He's genuinely really funny.
Yeah, Major Domo is quite funny. His line is like, "Mojo, darling, please not in the house. Do it outside. Oh, it's too late."
So Mojo was apparently meant to develop into a Doctor Strange character, and that's why they keep mentioning magic in it. They keep talking about spells and magic and stuff. So he's not meant to have anything to do with the mutants. But then Anne wrote the New Mutants, so Mojo just became an X-villain. For some reason, he gets obsessed with the X-Men in particular and all the spin-off teams. And about once a year in the X-Men, there'll be a Mojo episode, and where he whisks them all off to be a part of a TV show like Magnum PI or the X-Files or whatever was popular at the time. He'll do like a kind of Mojo version. Normally it's quite annoying, but one of my favorite comics when I first got into comics is this one we're going to talk about now, called Mojo Mayhem, which is an Excalibur one. Have you read this before, buddy?
Yeah, this was one of the early ones I read as well when I was starting to read more X-Men comics.
Really?
Yeah.
It's the perfect size because it's a graphic novel. It's not a graphic novel, is it? It's like a
prestige format, I think they used to
graphic
call it.
novella.
Where they're like 48 to 64 pages, but not quite a full graphic novel.
Good cover and all that sort of stuff. Good pages, good print, whatever it's called.
Yeah, they had like thicker cardboard covers and stuff like that, so it felt like higher quality.
Yeah, and this was, I mean, we don't have much time to talk about this, but I'd highly recommend reading this one. It's loads of fun. It's basically where we have these characters called the X-Babies, and they're who Mojo has created to create a basic, like a Muppet Babies version of the X-Men, I guess. And they escape and find Shadowcat, Kitty Pryde, who at this point is a member of Excalibur, and then go on this big adventure being chased by this character called the Agent, who's genuinely terrifying. And the Agent is trying to sign them, and he can appear in different guises and get them to sign. He's trying to sign the babies, and if he gets them to sign, they go back to Mojo World.
Yeah.
But the way it's really freaky artwork.
Yeah, it's is it Art Adams again?
Art Adams, yeah.
Yeah. There's a really nice bit where they're trying to get away, and they find this place called like the House of Ideas. It's very and it's all labeled with just lots of different Marvel and DC crossovers like Secret Wars and Crisis and Legends and Atlantis Attacks. There's lots of
they use DC ones.
Stuff. Yeah, it's got
I don't know why they did that.
Crisis, Invasion, and Legends in there, which are all DC crossovers.
Yeah, very
there's
bizarre.
lots of very meta comics commentary in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Like the machine they go to is called the House of Jack and Stan. The door they go through,
and everything's built on that.
Yeah,
like the whole Marvel universe is based on that
Yeah.
It's lovely. The X babies are fantastic as well. They're so funny and cute. They're
Yes.
basically the same as the X-Men, but like their personalities reduced to like kids. So
Yeah.
Wolverine's just really naughty and always trying to. There's a bit where he like sees Kitty's underpants and says, "I see London, I see France, I see Kitty's underpants," which is a kind of, as a middle-aged man, feels weird reading that bit, but as a kid, I thought it was hilarious.
It feels a bit like they're channeling like Peanuts, Charlie Brown, that kind of vibe to the X Babies as well, with the relationships between them.
Yeah, but they've and they've really got their personalities, though, haven't they? They've really kind of. I love it, and like Longshot, Dazzler, and Rogue both fancy Longshot, and they're always trying to get him to be their boyfriend and stuff, and it's just really cute and funny. And then but it's really scary and upsetting when they get sent away, when they get forced to sign these contracts.
Yeah. It feels like
it's the same as it is with child actors, I imagine. It's kind of it is a comment on that, I think. It's a comment on making kids be stars in TV shows and how that's kind of gross and weird.
Yeah.
I think there's
definitely a bit. It feels like it shouldn't work by reducing them down to like cute kids, but they managed to really get away with it in this.
I think they're brilliant, man. I really love the X Babies, and I love Kitty Pryde in this one as well. It's made me always be a big fan of hers. There's also, by the way, at one point she goes to see a band called Cats Laughing, and I looked it up, and they were Chris Claremont's favorite band, and they're real because
genuine band.
Really specific about all the. They're like, oh, is Steve here? You know, or what happened to Tony? Oh, he's not here at the minute because he's broke his foot or something like that.
Oh, that was
unnecessarily detail about the band members, and it's because they're a real band.
That's the other meta bit. Is they come across a car full of people going to a comics convention, and it's them. One of them is clearly Chris Claremont because one of the people in the car blames him for the X Babies, basically.
Yes, yeah. Oh, it's so much fun. Yeah. Anyone, if you're looking for, and I think everyone would enjoy it. It's one of those where I kind of think,
you don't need to know. You don't need to know too much. You can just leap into it. Yeah.
So the last one we read was. Oh, by the way, Cats Laughing, you can't get any stuff on them. I found one song. It took me ages to Google because it's like you can only get it on like what's it called? The sort of band, Bandcamp. Maybe it's on there or something. Yeah, but there's like 2 songs. It's kind of sad. And it's kind of Jefferson Airplane type stuff, I think.
Okay.
Sort of trippy, but 80s. The last one we read with him, talk about very briefly, we don't have time to talk about it much, but it's an Uncanny Avengers annual. So this is Mojo.
I didn't get around to reading this one.
He's not really. That's fair enough. Well, basically, what happens to Mojo is he ends up getting overthrown at some point. He loses the rating wars. There is a Mojo 2, which was a 90s idea.
Yeah.
Who isn't a spineless one, but he's also yellow. Don't know. It wasn't very good. He was just like basically Mojo, but boring. So don't bother.
If he's 90s, was he basically like Mojo, but with muscles and a massive gun?
Yeah. And a weird sort of goatee.
Yeah, that feels like the 90s.
Red eyes. Yeah, not good. But this is quite a fun one. What I quite like this one, he's now doing it to the Avengers, but the whole thing is a meta thing where he's telling the story of what he's going to do, and that is the issue of the story.
Yeah.
And also what I like is it starts where he's been called up by the shareholders. So they're also spineless ones, but they're all wearing suits and stuff. And they're just kind of like telling him he's lost it, but what I love is they're all like, obviously we love Mojo, Mojo, you were a legend and all that, which is really funny because it is Mojo World. Like he's created everything, but they're talking about him as if he's kind of, we respect you, but you're sort of yesterday's news,
Yeah.
The last show he pitched was Devil Dinosaur's Power Pack Force Antique Roadshow. And he says it wasn't what I originally pitched. But I thought it was an interesting new take in that it was all a comment on sort of gatekeepers and the people who are in charge of TV and that creatives can't get past them and all that. It's a fun read. I recommend it. In conclusion, my conclusion on Mojo, I think he can be fun, scary, or very annoying depending on the writer. It's hard to make those sort of parody social comment stories without being on the nose, but as a character, he's visually amazing and absolutely bonkers. I just wish there weren't so many speech balloons. So I was more impressed by Mojo and Arcade than I thought I was going to be.
Yeah, I agree with Mojo. I think there are some really good Mojo stories, and there are some really boring Mojo stories because it's easy to get the media parody wrong or just be very route one and dull about it. So I think there are ones where
Yes.
it's
And also it's
less
for kids.
interesting.
It's kind of, I mean, not all comics, obviously comics are for kids anymore in that way, but it's still sort of like, who are you talking to? Who is this? Like, it really is just people getting this off their chest, isn't it?
Yeah.
How annoyed they are that no one's buying their TV scripts. Must be bloody Mojo. Yeah. I'm so sorry to rush this, Nick. I've had a lovely time so far, but can we talk for about 2 minutes about the Grandmaster?
Yeah,
This is the one I found very disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll give you a couple of brief stats. Well, you'll have seen if you're an MCU fan, you will have seen the Grandmaster in I want to say Thor Ragnarok, as played by the marvelous Jeff Goldblum. But he was created by Roy Thomas and Sal Buscema in Avengers '69. He's 7'1", 108 kilograms.
What?
Yeah, it's a tall one. He's a tall
Only
one.
108 kilograms as well.
Yeah, so he's slender.
He's very slender. He almost looks like the Slender Man,
Yeah.
if you know that character.
His real name is Endweigast.
Why bother?
Yeah. I mean,
why give him a real name? He's a cosmic force.
No. Yes. So he's one of the elders of the universe, who are apparently the last remaining survivors of the original races that were around at the Big Bang. So effectively, there's like one survivor from each of these races, and they refer to each other as siblings, even though they're not, because they're the only ones left of their respective races.
Did they kill everyone else in their race? Is that the idea?
I'm not sure on that one. I don't know if they're the last ones because they killed everyone, or I mean, it's possibly. I mean, it sounds quite sweet that they call each other siblings until you do realize they spend most of their time being arseholes to all the newer species. So
yeah,
it's not that nice.
There's one called the Gardener. I remember that. And there's also one called the Obliterator, who's a kind of parody of Arnold Schwarzenegger. There's a good Surfer one where they all appear.
There's a lot of There's the Collector. There's the Profiteer.
It's a bit like the Doctor and the Master. It's kind of
similar vibe. But basically, the Grandmaster spends his entire existence setting up various games and tournaments for his own amusement. And he comes into contact with the Marvel Universe mainly, firstly with the Avengers, where he creates the Squadron Sinister to tell them, and then
a parody of the Justice League.
Yeah, and then comes back again, setting up some trials for heroes in Contest of Champions, which is the one that we looked at, and I found this issue boring.
It'd be fun if you're a kid. It's a bit like Secret Wars, which I found incredibly boring. It's basically got every hero in it, including one's called Shamrock, who is the Irish.
This was the problem. Character. I think I made a note. I think there were 5 pages of them rounding up superheroes and telling you all of their names, and then another 7 pages of other ones introducing themselves to each other after they've all been captured. That's 12 pages of just telling you superheroes' names. Oh my God. I mean, I know you don't like Secret Wars. I loved it because it's the first Marvel thing I got into. So I have a soft spot for that. But this one, I'd never read Contest of Champions before, and I can see why now. I was like, oof.
They're all just sort of in this big warehouse type situation as well. It just feels like loads of people standing around.
And they spend all this time. They spend 12 pages introducing all these characters to then only say, we're only going to pick 12 of you.
Yeah.
Why did you then spend 12 pages telling me who they all were?
You are.
Why did you spend 12 pages telling me who they all were if you're only going to pick 12 of them?
Yeah, it's crap. And he's
not a very interesting character, I don't think. He
sort of looks cool. He looks a bit like a blue David Bowie, but
he looks like an elongated Guardian from the Green Lanterns.
Yes. Also, why is he called Grandmaster and not Games Master? It doesn't make sense because they're the others called like the Collector, the Gardener, and he's called the Grandmaster because he plays games. That doesn't make sense. So they kind of often beat him by making him play poker and shit like that.
Yeah.
He's rubbish. I'm sorry, I hate him. We're not going to talk about him anymore. And the fact that in Ragnarok they just made up an entirely new character, which the character is basically Jeff Goldblum,
Yeah. Yeah.
shows you that there's nothing going on with the Grandmaster.
Yeah. And nobody was outraged. Yeah.
No one even noticed. No one noticed. Have you seen what they've done with the Grandmaster? Right.
Yeah.
Let's give the wonderful Joystick 2 minutes.
Oh, God, Joystick. Okay, so I tried to find. Do you know what? I looked through the bio and I read the issue with her in. I still can't really work out what she's supposed to be. She seems to be super strong and super agile, but I couldn't really work it out. Other than her power seems to be, she's a bit like the Scarlet Spider, but she makes video game references. That seems to be her.
Yeah. So the Scarlet Spider is a stand-in for Spider-Man. He's a clone of Spider-Man. That's a whole thing we'll get to another time. But essentially, you've seen Spider-Verse. It's basically like one of those characters, but it's very 90s. He's very muscly. He's got a ponytail. He doesn't have a great character, to be honest. He doesn't have a great anything. But Joystick turns up. But I realized this is basically like Mortal Kombat is what it's based around. Yeah. She's called Joystick. She has 2 pink sticks that glow. But it's basically, I think at the time, Street Fighter was out, and that's why they've done it. It's the 90s, so it's like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. And so she is doing that, but in real life. So the idea is it's like a game around the world where they go around fighting people, finding the best fighters, Scarlet Spider at this point being one.
I from that issue we read, I didn't even get any real sense other than she's got 2 electric glowing sticks, what her power was. And even the descriptions I looked up say virtually nothing is known about her before her first appearance as Joystick. Like, wow.
She just pop up in the Thunderbolts later on, but again, just to get killed, one of those characters.
Yeah, she joins the Masters of Evil for a bit as well, apparently.
She's in one of the Masters of Evil?
Apparently for a bit, before Thunderbolts.
So the faces look so bad. This is Mark Bagley, and her face across one page seems to become like 4 different people. Like, I know comics, their drawings, it's rare where you get an artist so good that you recognize the character from their face as opposed to their costume. But literally, it's like he's drawn 5 different people with the same haircut. Yeah. I kind of like Mark Bagley, but this was not.
I do normally like his stuff, but this is
early
quite early, and I think he's obviously still getting to grips with.
I've written one line: "How is she stood on that building?" There's a bit where she's sort of standing on top of, and it makes no sense as to where her feet are in relation to the top of the building. A couple of good lines, a couple of good 90s lines. Let's see how well you play Dodge the Fist.
We've all played Dodge the Fist.
Yes. Yeah, we've all played Dodge the Fist. Oh, yeah. Mr. Politically Correct, I ain't.
Yeah.
Says at one point, is that because he hits a woman or something, or like?
I think so.
Wolf? I don't know. There's some sort of like. It's really bad.
You can tell this is a proper 90s comic though, because there's a couple of pages where there's a character, as it says here, a strange being streaking through the electronic realm known as cyberspace, and you can see it's that 90s thing where they had, it's like Lawnmower Man, where you thought you could just sort of crawl around as an avatar in amongst all these circuits and you'll be in cyberspace. It's such a 90s
viruses are like sort of robot dogs that chase you. Okay, that's Joystick. Really is nothing else to say about her. She just fights Scarlet Spider, and I mean she's fine. She's no King Bedlam. She's not bottom of the list. She's close.
No, she's just there's just nothing to her really. It's hard to say much about her.
Right, buddy, let's stick them in the order. So where does she go for a start? Is she
she's low?
Very low, below Arrow? I still sort of prefer her to Arrow. Should we put her one below Anna Lee?
Yeah, that works. Okay,
she's gone in at 82, which will be lower in a minute when we put more in. I put Joystick. Joystick would be a more interesting character. I am Joystick!
What's that? Oh, I think Joystick's on the way.
She's just really boring. Just talks to you about, like.
Oh, can someone smell
a trip to
patchouli?
Thailand and stuff. So that's Joystick, and then who's the other one? Grandmaster. I guess I don't even know if he should be above Joystick. I hate him so much.
Do you know what? Even though we've sort of dissed Joystick, I think you're right. I think Grandmaster's. It's just boring.
Okay, what about one below Aero?
Yeah,
Still think he's better than Eric O'Grady. He's not hated, but he's almost hated.
He's just a bit irritating.
Just crap stories, man.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's get into the creme de la menthe. Mojo, where does he go? Nick, I'll let you decide.
He's got to be. I do like Mojo. It's if for nothing else, like his look is very appealing.
We normally use Gambit as a good measuring stick.
Oh, does Mojo go above Gambit? I think he may be just above Gambit.
Okay, fair enough. Gambit is a very silly character, at least we forget.
Yeah.
He is beloved, but we shouldn't be.
With his armored neck scarf.
And his sort of big boots with arrows on, some pointing to his toes. Finally, Arcade. Arcade.
Arcade.
Where does he go?
I feel like
below Mojo.
No, maybe a bit higher. Well,
one high, Amadeus Cho. No, he's not better than Amadeus Cho.
No,
I think we've got Falcon and Amadeus Cho the wrong way around. I think I prefer Amadeus Cho. But anyway, we'll come back to that another day. Maybe we'll do a bonus episode where we do a little jiggery pokery with the list where we go, this character cannot be.
Yeah.
Although we're not allowed to do, we can't do that to Abyss, Porcupine, or who was your one? The Zombie. I think they're locked in.
Zombie.
So Arcade, what above Mojo?
Yeah.
That was easy. He's in at number 30. Lovely.
Done. Nobody's bothered the top 10 on this one though.
No one's coming close to that, I'm afraid. No. What was the noise they make at the end? The noise they make in Arcade. Sure.
Saflang.
I think that's our thing to say at the end. Okay. Well, thank you all so much for listening. Don't forget to, what is it? Gmail?
Yeah, you can Gmail me, abombtozzzax, 3 Zs, @gmail.com.
Do you think we're right? Do you think we're right with the order? Do you think Arcade and Mojo are just annoying? Is Grandmaster actually the secret best character? We just read the wrong comics. Is Joystick the greatest villain since Magneto?
No.
Gmail, abombtozzzax@gmail.com or abombtozzzax on Instagram or patreon.com/abombtozzzax to support our work. Or if you can't do any of that, just tell your friends and make sure to leave us a review. And there's one thing left to say, and that is, what's that noise, Nick?
Saflang,
everybody.
Bye. Hankum sucks.
You have been listening to abombtozzzax, my favorite Marvel character, with me, Colin Holt, and my friends Dan Snowgrove and Jamie Firth. There they go! Please remember to support us at patreon.com/abombtozzzax.